Let's watch it. What is this? People are not paying. Game prices are collapsing. Publishers were wrong. What? No way. They don't want to pay $80 for freaking Mario Kart iteration number 59?
I've heard you.
Who would
and
have
with
guessed?
today's story, it seems the rest of the industry is also beginning to hear you. Now, this year started with the fear that gaming is getting more expensive. Microsoft and Nintendo pushed.
You know what else is expensive? RAM. Anybody want to buy some RAM? You want to cough up like $5 million?
The ceiling to $80. An impossibly high ask, especially as everything else has got more and more pricey. But elsewhere in the industry, something quieter is happening. And it's this. The games that you are actually buying, well, we've got the data about them. And as it turns out, they're getting cheaper. $100 for Grand Theft Auto 6. That was the rumor that kicked off this year's anxiety.
I still think it's going to be $100. I don't know. My expectations are ready.
About game prices. It was one that Take-Two have been happy to downplay, if not outright refute. But with GTA now delayed, we won't know the truth until next autumn, though we've already seen audiences reject the new price ceiling of $80. Xbox tried to put The Outer Worlds 2 at $80, presumably.
And that failed because the game was just mid.
Buying some headroom for Microsoft's lovely 30%
sure.
profit margin demand. But they quickly reversed that decision. The inference from that?
Yep.
They didn't see enough pre-orders. People essentially voted with their wallet. Just that, unlike real votes, the great thing about voting with your wallet is you don't need to do anything to cast your vote. It turns out audiences just wouldn't pay that price for The Outer Worlds 2. But you know what they would pay? The regular price. Because
it kind of just looks like a slightly better, what is it called? Starfield. Yeah, like it wasn't as buggy as Starfield and it had a little bit more content, but it's still not worth $80 in my opinion.
selling at a normal price, the game did have a top 10 launch. Though the right product at $80 will sell. Mario Kart World kind of proved that. Even bundled with Switch 2 for many buyers, you don't get a 92% attach rate across 9.57 million copies.
Yeah, but Nintendo, like, they twist your balls because they know they can. Like, what are you gonna do? Play Mario Kart somewhere else? No. Like, if you don't want to play COD, you're gonna go play Battlefield. There's no answer to, like, playing Mario Kart. That's why they have such, like, a vice grip on people's balls right now.
Without lots of people shelling out the full amount.
Yeah.
But that's only one side of this story. Because the reality we need to dive into today...
Emulators? Dude, the average Joe doesn't even know how to pirate anything, and you think they're gonna, like, emulate a game? Guys, I know, we're above average intelligence on average in this stream. But you have to understand that, like, the average person or below average person doesn't even know what an emulator fucking is, okay? That's the problem.
Is about how off-console prices have been plummeting. But there's a not so funny thing hanging over all of this, and it's the simple fact that video game spending is actually falling, but subscriptions are rising. We've seen that in analyst reports, and too often, well, we're paying for subs we don't use. That's why...
Oh my god, I was about to say something, and then he gets into an ad.
Rocket Money is today's video sponsor.
I was literally about to say because people forget to fucking unsub. That's why.
Because they make it easy to get a handle on your subscriptions and get saving.
Clever little
ad
lib. I got
today for free at rocketmoney.com/Bellular.
Thanks,
now,
Bellular.
Rocket Money will securely and safely identify recurring charges for you.
To be fair, this is really useful if you're like
They've basically put the work in to make that real smooth. So if this is a chore you've been putting off, well, now's the time. They make it easy.
I actually don't mind this. I don't mind this idea.
Help you with bill negotiation. You simply upload your bill and they will be able to help. For a personal example, whenever my internet went to its off-contract price, I was able to renegotiate. I
couldn't do that because I had the other internet provider in my area doesn't provide good enough internet for me. They upped my internet price by, like, I want to say $40, and I literally can't go anywhere else unless I moved. And I'm like, oh, cool. I just have to cough up more money.
a speed upgrade, and also half my monthly bill. But here's the thing, I was overloaded with paperwork, and I actually did that negotiation late. And by doing it late, I basically wasted a bunch of money. So with the likes of Rocket Money being able to help, you can actually go and make progress on those things way more easily. And that is the huge value of Rocket Money. They make it all easy. They've canceled over $500 million of subscriptions. They've helped save customers up to $740 a year when using all of their app's premium features. They have other great tools beyond what I've mentioned, so if you want to spend less and save more, which, you know, sounds pretty good to me, you can join the over 5 million Rocket Money members using rocketmoney.com/Baldur, or just by clicking the link down below. You can get started for free, play around, have some fun, save some money, and then unlock more features with premium, and that's rocketmoney.com/Baldur News. If you've bought a game on Steam in the last 18 months, you probably paid $20 or less. In fact, you've probably been paying less since 2023 than you did from 2020. Now, what are these numbers? Well, these numbers are from the research of Simon Carlos, who runs the excellent Game Discover Co. newsletter. He tracked average and median prices for the top 50 new monthly games on Steam during that period of time, ranked by copy sold, and you're looking at the graphs now. We see a median price as low as $10, as high as $20, with averages between $16 and $29. Shocker.
Look at this spike. God damn.
Steam users
28.
are thrifty people who like deals. We probably didn't need this much analysis to work that out, but that's not where I'm ending. Here's where things get truly interesting. From February 2023 to October 2025, the average amount of money spent on a best-selling game went down by 2%. The median, though, it went down by 20%. That means that more games are selling.
I trust medians more than averages on a general basis, because there's a lot of people who have a lot of money that spend a lot of money on video games. Like if they have, like, I don't know, a trust fund or a really, really good job. People who are in IT have a lot of money. So yeah, like you have to take the median into account rather than the average. Of course, it depends on the overall population. I think averages are fine, but you have to take into account that certain outliers exist and they bring up or they bring down an average.
At a lower
the furry
price.
budget, the
and
IT
Carlos
budget,
took a look at the revenue earned, the trend
Crypto
actually
bros.
held. Now, in theory, that should favor more expensive games. They generate more revenue per sale. But even there, the median dropped from $23.75 to $20.35.
That's a lot.
That's about 14% of a drop. And do bear in mind that as this has been happening, the currency has been inflating. So even as players feel like they are being pressured towards $80 games, what they're actually buying is getting cheaper and cheaper. And what's key is that this is not showing us what has been offered to players, it's showing us what players have actually chosen. It's showing the best.
Well, this makes a lot of sense. Look at how many people are buying stuff that isn't AAA. Where is it? Silk Song, Mega Bonk, Borderlands doesn't count. Dying Light, is Dying Light AAA? Is it like more like AA? I don't know. Clover Pit's not. EA is. Shape of Dreams looks like it's an indie. This is indie. This is not indie. This is not indie. And this is indie. Okay, so the vast majority of these are indie games, which tracks with the amount of indie games that have been sold over the last year.
Selling premium games on the platform, and that does feel like a bit of a win, right? That we are seeing smaller teams with cheaper games beginning to dominate the sales space. That says a lot for the value of Steam. And in a world where people would have to compare the price of a full console plus a subscription for multiplayer and more expensive games and weigh that up to a Steam machine with generally far cheaper games, well, I think it also makes the Steam machine look stronger as well. Overall, though, it's somewhat validating an argument you see all the time, right? The argument people make every time someone suggests an $80 price point, which is that you make your profit in aggregate. So make your games cheaper, and then more people will buy them. Buying 4 $20 indie games is to many people better than...
Yeah, but they're good games. I don't know. I mean, you can make the counter argument and say like, oh, well, you could just make a bunch of microtransactions and that'll up the price of a AAA game. But that doesn't make up for the fact that it's still dog shit.
One $80 AAA game. Surely that's what's going on. Surely that's what everyone is doing. Well, Ish. Let's look more into the data. Carlos gave us the perfect example. It's the September releases on Steam, where Silksong sold like gangbusters at $20.
Oh
with
yeah.
4.6
People were saying stop pirating the game and just spend $20.
million copies shifted on Steam alone. That's nearly double the sales of a full-price title like
Some people
Borderlands
bought
4.
2
The immediate
copies.
takeaway is a lower barrier to entry at the price of a couple of coffees, meaning you give yourself the widest possible audience and a big game. And in theory, that also means that more people can buy more games. But it's actually not quite that simple. You see, regardless of price, the majority of game players don't actually buy that many games. Circana's Future of Games report surveyed 2,500 US players on self-reported purchase patterns. About a third of the market says they buy just—
Hold on, let me read this. US active video game players age 13 plus weighted based on representative distribution of platform use and investment. N equals 2,500. Fielded July 28th to August 11th. That's like, what, 2 weeks? That's not a really big sample size, I'm not gonna lie. And also 13, like, I didn't really buy a lot of games with my own money. Like, even if I really wanted a game, that's also a factor of like, oh, my parents didn't want to buy me a game because I have to focus on school. Does that... I don't know, I think this is a bit skewed in my opinion. I would take this with a grain of salt.
About a third of the market says—
Yeah, 13 up is a massive range. And also when you're 13, you have like, I don't know, what do kids get for an allowance these days? Like, I had maybe like $20 a week when I was 15. And that's if I did like chores and shit. Yeah, I had to save up to buy games. Yeah, me too, exactly. Or I had to like beg my parents like on Christmas or my birthday. Nothing. Yeah, some people get nothing. So if you're lucky, you got an allowance, but some people didn't. Period.
they buy just one game or fewer a year. Just under 2/3, 63%, buy fewer than 2 games a year. That is absolutely insane to me, but I suppose when I think about what my norms are, or maybe you do the same, we probably have a sampling bias. One that is in and around enthusiast gamers. We do buy more games, but it seems—
Yeah, enthusiast gamers, like MMOs and what is it called, shooters, they buy loot boxes and stuff.
that with broader audiences, that is less the case. Now, obviously, that's Circana doing a survey of 2,500 people in the US. It's good enough work.
I disagree. I think 2,500 people in a span of 2 weeks during one time period, I think it's not. I don't think it's a good sample size. I don't know. I study statistics, like, in college, so, like, this irks me. I can point out a lot of things that might make it look weird.
Survey of 2,500 people in the US. It's good enough work. It's hypothesis generating work, but obviously it is just a survey.
I'm a nerd, yeah.
Though I would
like
say that when you think about games overall, a lot of it is plausible. You see, a lot of people are only interested in buying this year's sport game or this year's—
Oh my god, that's what I can't, like, I can't get this through my chat's head sometimes, that we are not, like, as a collective, I feel like people who watch streams, who enjoy certain games, you don't understand how normies function. They buy the new NBA, they buy the new FIFA, they gamba on every single new one. You don't understand how people like that function. Like, I know there's some people, obviously, that play this game, or play games like that, but it's not a vast majority. Yeah, we're not the target market, and you guys don't understand how much money these people put into the system. Yeah, ball and gun games. If it doesn't have ball or gun, I'm not interested. Yeah.
Call of Duty. Well, maybe not this year's Call of Duty. Maybe they bought Battlefield instead. But the majority of any product-based industry
No, you're not retarded.
is
You're just
often
not a normie.
people
That's
who are
okay.
gently engaged in it. Not people, perhaps, like you and me. But it's actually the top of the chart that complicates things here, because those people probably aren't the ones buying indie games for $20 en masse. No, that's the other 37% of people, but even that 37% is quite stratified. 22% say they buy a game every 3 months. That's 4 games a year, and that adds up with Valve's own data. Yes, Valve's own data suggests that users played only 4 games on Steam on average in 2023 and 2020.
But are they new games or are they brand new games? I know there's a lot of people in my chat that play certain things like, oh, I play Classic, or I play RuneScape, or I play Skyrim with mods for like the millionth hour, or I play Hearts of Iron 4. I've played Factorio. I have like 3,000 hours. Like, you get what I mean? I feel like you have to also analyze how many of those people play games that they've played before and they just like have comfort in it. Or they don't want to play something else because they know it's gonna suck.
4. A further 10% buy a new game monthly, which is of course great for an industry releasing thousands of games a year. But we need to put this in perspective.
Oh, and what about free-to-play games? What if it's people that play Uma Musume? Someone in my chat says, I play Uma Musume. Yeah, that doesn't count as a game because you didn't buy it. What about that? Does that count? Or does it not count because it's technically a mobile game? I don't know. Again, my statistics brain is telling me you need to compartmentalize or exclude certain statistics in order to make it more readable or less, to have less of a range in variables. I don't know. I feel like it could go both ways.
If you bought Silksong and any other game in September,
Megabonk!
2 games in 1 month, then you are only 4% of the games market. That's kind of wild. And even if we're allowed to some swing and fuzziness because a survey is only as good as the survey, the point I think still does stand. And of course, it's a point that we do see in a lot of other things as well.
Poorer too.
Take whaling, right? Whaling and free-to-play games, where the majority of the revenue does come from a very small strata of that game's player base. And when we see data like that,
this is what I'm talking about with like how whales ruin the average of how much money is spent in a game. They do. Like, they swipe like $400. I remember there was a Phillian quiz show with like a bunch of VTubers, and there was like one guy that said, oh yeah, I've spent like $15,000 in like 3 years on Genshin Impact. And I'm like, bro, I've played WoW for like 15 years on and off, and I think with my total collective subscription, I'm not even close to that. Like, keep in mind, like, transfers, expansions, like, that doesn't even come close to how much money these people spend.
I think we begin to understand why
it must be nice to have money like that. No, some people genuinely, like, they go into debt, they pay off in credit cards, they spend money they don't have. You have to keep that in mind too. I don't think that a lot of these people that whale in video games actually have that kind of money. They just get addicted and they want to spend it on credit. They just want to spend it on their credit card.
All of those publishers and indie devs
I'm sure
their
some
releases
are loaded,
away
but
from
not everyone.
Silksong, or of course, away from GTA 6. And in the case of the indies, it would especially be because most of those indies are at the same price point or cheaper than Silksong. So if you're releasing against Silksong, a game with massive cut-through to enthusiast audiences, if you're releasing against that, then, well, you're betting on the 4% of the market turning up that does actually buy multiple games a month. That doesn't really seem like a great strategy, does it? And here's the kicker. What if I told you there's another layer? You see, this chart does not distinguish between new games and already released games that are on sale. Every time someone buys a game that's been out for 6 months, they're probably not buying a new game that month to go along with it, regardless of price. So, more people aren't buying games, even as prices keep trending down. Now, if that is the case, as a bunch of this data suggests, well, why then are audiences feeling like they are constantly being asked for more and more? When people are asked to pay $80 or $70 for a video game, Nintendo, Microsoft, or Sony are basically banking on a fairly simple principle, that the people who actually have money will spend it regardless of anything else that's going on. Essentially, they're betting on it.
Yeah, they're betting on the giga fan, like the Nintendo super fan that says like, oh, Nintendo can't do anything wrong, I'm gonna buy their games regardless if they're shit or not. That's the kind of thing that has a lot of, like, a massive chokehold over, like, branding. Like, for example, Blizzard and Xbox, Call of Duty, I would say to a lesser extent like Battlefield and stuff. Like even when Battlefield, the one that came out that was really, really bad, people still played it and defended it. Xbox fanboys, PlayStation fanboys that freak out over every single release. Yeah, like I don't know, man. Yeah. You buy every Blizzard game, Alana? Almost every single one. I think the only exception is StarCraft and yeah, I think the only one was like StarCraft. I never got into StarCraft because it's RTS. Yeah, I think I'm a Blizzard fanboy, dude. Did you buy the deluxe edition? No, that doesn't matter. I never had that kind of money. Like, I fucking never bought deluxe editions. Are you fucking kidding me? I thought that was cool when you got, like, the collection book or whatever, but, like, my point still stands. Like, yeah, I played Overwatch. I bought that at launch. I thought it was awesome. I played Heroes of the Storm. I played Diablo. I played the shit out of it. I played Hearthstone. I played Diablo 3 and 2 and 4. Yeah. StarCraft is free? Is it actually? I don't know if it's free or not. But my point is like when you have a captured market like with a brand, that people are more inclined to buy things from you.
Being a premium product with inflexible demand.
Yeah.
That is why marketing teams target those people. That's why those absurd collector's editions exist, right? The people who absolutely love games and have money. They're the people these companies can count on. The games industry basically thrives in people who can spend without thinking about it, which has always been the case. Buying more than one $60 game at launch has been unaffordable to people for years. But the problem is the proportion of people with money to spend freely actually does appear to be shrinking.
I wish we could find the statistics of people playing video games in 2008 during the economic crash, because obviously there were a lot of really great games around. I think it's both quality and an economic circumstance. Because like really amazing games like Halo, I think the Burning Crusade for World of Warcraft, the first expansion came out in 2008. People still had record-breaking sales for video games even during economic hardship because they could justify buying an amazing game because it would give you so much like fun and entertainment out of it. Like bread and circuses kind of deal. Like, oh, if I'm having a bad time at work, I can still launch up the game and go play Halo with the boys. Yeah, Left 4 Dead was really good. Yeah, you're completely right about that. There's like a lot of games. Like Gears of War, I think, came out in 2008 or 7, I think. Yeah, and now, even though we're having like an unironic, really bad economic hardship, in my personal opinion, and you can't really deny that with like how much the world is bitching about it constantly and everybody else is, I think... like, I genuinely think it's a skill issue on the game industry part for not producing things that people are, like, wanting to, like, play.
As of September, the top 10%
like
of earners
too.
accounted for 50% of US retail
sucks.
sales. And the very same year, spending in games is actually down. The 18 to 25 age group in the US is spending nearly a quarter less in games this year.
Yeah, because they have no money.
In large, is down
younger Americans. I wonder what the age range is for that is.
a couple of percent. But on the whole, most game spending is only a few points down. Now, given we're in rough economic times, that could seem like a good thing, right? Oh, the world is experiencing troubles, but games are
only people not really struggling are homeowners. Yeah, exactly, because you already have the security of having a home, so everything that you're making is going into savings. Like, again, this goes into like economics and like how the quote-unquote rich get richer, even though owning a home is like, it's considered like almost like a luxury at this point, not gonna lie. Like if you're renting, that's like the vast majority of people. Or maintenance. It's maintenance on a house or a property or an apartment is so minimal compared to a mortgage. Yeah, serfs rent. Yeah, you're basically like a medieval peasant. Yeah. Property tax is still so much less than the money that you spend every month, accumulative over a year. Like, if you have property taxes once a year, right? You're spending property tax once a year, which is like, I don't fucking know. I've never looked into it. But, you know, like, I remember my parents were saying, oh, property taxes are so high this year. What the fuck? I hate the property taxes, right? That is insurmountably less than, like, fucking having to pay rent every month. And rent also fluctuates. Like, that's a given. Like, a property tax is, like, around about a certain amount, and it's once a year kind of deal. As opposed to it changing, like, every month, God forbid. Or you having to move.
Most categories by a few percent. What if I told you it's actually worse than that? You see,
Yeah.
the difference that's been made up, right? What's made this only a few points down? Well, it's basically subscriptions making up the difference, because those have grown
and they
all year.
they keep
But that
increasing
comes
it.
from the
Ew.
bottom of the spending population, not the top, right? It comes from people who are seeking more and more value for their increasingly limited dollars, whilst also spending less and less on premium games. And I think that is the big tension that people are feeling. We're in a situation where game marketing and traditional big games are basically out of reach to most of the audience. More so
Yeah,
than
people are gonna look for something that's worth their value. People, I know I've asked this with chat before, but like I do this all the time. I'm like, this game is like X amount of money. Let's say you work like a 15 minimum wage job for $15 an hour. Is this game going to give me that amount of money? And you do like a formula in your head and think about how much money you're going to spend on a game and how much fun you're going to get. And if one number is greater than the other, then you buy it or you don't buy it. Like, I don't think it's that deep. I don't think this is like an extremely like crazy concept. I think even the dumbest people can realize the value behind of like, oh, if this game doesn't give me an hour's worth of fun, I'm gonna refund it or something, right? Yeah. Do you have to pay mortgage? What is this? Do you need to pay property tax while you still pay mortgage? I don't know. I think so, right? Yeah, because mortgage is just you're paying the bank, and then property tax you're paying the government or the state, right? Yeah, you have to pay both.
perhaps ever in recent memory. But the companies haven't changed how they talk to players as a whole. A lot of the market has changed underneath those companies, but it's not really like it seems they've really changed their comms to match. And that is leading to people feeling ignored. It's leading to people facing demands that they cannot meet. And that's because the companies that used to be targeting them are now not targeting them. They're targeting someone with more disposable income. And that's a tough change to stomach. But by contrast, the $20 games in Steam are changing. Individual indie developers are watching game prices creep lower and lower. And they're just hoping that they will get enough sales to succeed.
I think it might inspire like an indie renaissance. Because if you really think about it, really old, technologically, how do I say it? Games that came out, say, 10, 15 years ago, you can still make the same quality of a game. As long as it plays well, it has a good story, and the graphics are appealing. Like, people still play, like, old school Metroidvanias, platformers. Like, people still want to log on, and, like, graphics aren't everything at this point. And I think indie developers are starting to understand that it doesn't have to be, like, the most cutting-edge bullshit with the most amazing graphics of all time, because if you make something really good, it doesn't matter.
Because they cannot afford to price higher and risk player blowback. Now, we're not quite at the mobile game space, where developers basically can't afford to price games as premium products anymore, but we are seeing a shift in how games are sold. And what that may lead to may not be great for all of us. Because if you can't ask players for more than $25 without facing comparisons to Silksong, then you may start having to scope your development very differently indeed. And that means that some traditional games simply would be out of reach. It could also mean that we do feel more and more nickel and dimed. So
I can see what he's saying. Counter argument, you cut down on all the crap that, you know, all the useless jobs that exist, and say, for example, Diablo 4, it required 9,000 people to make. Do you really think they needed 9,000 people to make Diablo 4? Like, let's not fucking kid ourselves. Like, if you fired half those people, I feel like we would get the same quality game. I don't know. Maybe it's just me. Yeah, fire all the HR Karens. Maybe fire all the people that are like, is this appropriate for a Diablo game? Like, I don't know, man. It's a bit of a cope. It's a bit of a cope.
It's not all doom and gloom. It actually seems there's a lot of vibrancy in the indie scene. But what we are seeing is a changing market, changing behaviors, and a AAA sector that is struggling to keep up pace with that change. So no wonder they're out of touch. And speaking of out of touch,
corpos are
Bungie,
always out of touch,
that's
bro.
certainly something a lot of people would say about them, and they have just had some not so rosy news. Basically, a big write-off at the same time that they kind of admitted they shat the bed with Destiny 2.
PlayStation wrote off Destiny, so have players. Destiny's been dead for like 5 years, man. Oh my god. I remember I had some friends that were hardcore Destiny players. I never got into it, but basically during I think it was WoD or Legion, there was a lot of people that stopped playing and they went to go play Destiny. Yeah, because the game was like pretty decent, and now it's like completely fallen off. Yeah, it fell off a cliff hard. I don't know. I think limitations breed ingenuity and innovation. You can see that happening with like graphics and lack of technology. I don't know. Maybe there is gonna be a renaissance, or we're gonna get fucked. I'm not sure.